Okay, let's unpack this. Today we're taking a deep dive into something really fundamental, self-esteem.
Yeah, absolutely fundamental to how we feel, how we interact. And we're using an article from Jisqua Sengwal Yongguso as our guide here.
Right, and it offers some really practical ways in.
Exactly.
So our mission for this deep dive, really, is to get past the abstract idea of self-esteem. We want to dig into the concrete habits the source talks about.
Tangible things, things you can actually do to, nurture your own sense of self.
And what I found interesting is how the source defines it. It's not presented as, like, a fixed personality thing.
No, not at all. It's framed more as a feeling, a sense that comes directly from how you treat yourself.
So less about what others think, more about that internal relationship.
That's the core idea. That relationship really determines your life's balance more than external judgments.
And I really like that the article says right off the bat, you don't need huge changes.
Yeah, none of these grand gestures. It emphasizes small, kind of light practices, things you can actually start doing well right now.
Those small steps are positioned as the meaningful start.
Exactly. Consistent, manageable steps. That's the theme.
Okay, so let's jump into those specific habits. The source lays out 5. First one up, don't suppress your emotions.
Right. And this isn't necessarily about, telling everyone everything. The core idea is simpler. Just acknowledge how you feel, even if it's just to yourself.
The article mentions something interesting here about a sort of cultural backdrop, maybe especially in Korea, this idea of the virtue of not speaking. Like, it's better to keep feelings inside.
That expectation exists. But the perspective in the source is that holding it all in, stuffing it down, it doesn't just disappear.
Right.
It tends to eventually show up somewhere else, maybe physically, like tension or aches, or it pops up in your relationships kind of unexpectedly.
You have to go somewhere, basically.
Pretty much. So the action step here isn't about like having a big emotional outburst. It's simpler, just taking a moment privately and admitting, okay, yeah, I'm feeling frustrated right now, or sad, or whatever it is.
And the source suggests that internal nod, just acknowledging it to yourself, can bring a surprising amount of comfort.
That internal validation piece is key. It's the first step.
Okay. And that leads nicely into the second habit, which is also about our internal world, specifically our language. Reduce self-deprecating talk.
Oh, this is a big one. It's about really tuning in to the words you use about yourself. Especially, right after you make a mistake or if something doesn't quite work out.
Yeah, the article gives some really common examples. Things like jumping straight to, oh, I'm just useless at this kind of thing.
Right, or that classic, yep, of course I messed up. That immediate negative loop.
And the source points out, maybe we don't always realize it, but that language, it subtly chips away at your self-trust.
It really does. It's corrosive over time. And it makes a good distinction. There's being humble, which is fine, and then there's just constantly putting yourself down, negating yourself.
So what's the alternative instead of that automatic self-blame?
Well, the article suggests, even if you feel embarrassed or awkward, try telling yourself something more like, okay, that wasn't ideal, but I'll probably get a bit better next time.
Shifting the focus slightly.
Exactly. And the source actually claims that this small internal shift can dramatically reduce that inner nagging voice we all sometimes have.
That makes sense. Quieting the inner critic a bit.
Which then connects to the third habit. Focus on your flow, your direction, not constant comparison.
The comparison trap. It's so easy, isn't it? Especially today. Just looking at what everyone else is doing, achieving.
And instantly feeling like you're falling short. The source is very clear. That's a guaranteed way to tank your self-esteem.
So what's the perspective shift it offers?
It really emphasizes remembering 2 things. Everyone has their own pace, their own timeline, and maybe more importantly, everyone has their own destination. Their goal isn't necessarily your goal.
Right, so their path isn't the benchmark for yours.
Exactly. So the focus should be on your desired direction. Are you moving towards where you want to go? That becomes your standard.
So switching the question from, how do I stack up, to, am I on my path?
Precisely. And the article argues that this focus helps you break free from that whole, often painful comparison game.
Okay, habit number 4. This one felt quite counterintuitive for many people, I think. Acknowledge your successes.
Yeah, it really pushes against a common tendency, especially for those with lower self-esteem, the tendency to just dismiss accomplishments.
Right, thinking, oh, that was nothing, or anyone could have done that.
And when you do that, the source points out you're actually missing really important chances to encourage yourself, to give yourself positive feedback.
You're denying yourself that reinforcement.
Exactly. So the action here, the article really stresses this, is to make a point of saying, well done to yourself.
Okay.
And not just for big wins, for the small stuff too, the things you put effort into today. Like maybe you actually got up when your alarm went off instead of hitting snooze 5 times.
Yeah. Or you finally tackled that email you were avoiding.
Yeah. Or you cooked a decent meal instead of ordering takeout again. Small efforts count. Acknowledge them. Say, okay, good job, me.
It really hammers home that praise doesn't only count if it's external. Your own acknowledgement is powerful.
Hugely powerful. Which brings us to the 5th and final habit the source discusses: learn self-compassionate language.
So this is about consciously developing the habit of talking to yourself kindly.
Yeah, like how a truly supportive friend would talk to you if you were having a tough time.
The article gives examples like, you know how comforting it feels when someone else says, hey, it's okay, don't beat yourself up, or you'll do better next time.
Very comforting.
So the core practice the source proposes is really a question for introspection. How often do you actually say things like that to yourself?
Oof, that's a good question. Probably not often enough for many of us.
Right. The article suggests really working on learning a more relaxed, accepting way to talk to yourself, one that understands the situation rather than just jumping straight to criticism.
And the benefit, it can seriously reduce that inner anxiety, that constant pressure.
And it adds a little nuance too, right? That this is maybe even more important for people who spend a lot of time alone.
Yeah, because they might have less external input, less external support. So that internal voice, whether it's critical or compassionate, becomes even more influential.
Okay, so if we pull all 5 of these habits together, the overarching message from the source seems really clear. Self-esteem isn't just something that, poof, appears.
Not at all. It's something you actively build, consciously, consistently, through these small, maybe seemingly minor, but actually really powerful habits.
Treating yourself with care, with understanding.
Exactly. The article uses a great metaphor: building emotional muscle.
I like that, emotional muscle. So why is building this muscle through these kinds of habits so important for you listening?
Well, because how you treat yourself, that internal dialogue, it directly shapes your emotional state day to day.
Yeah, and your resilience too, right? How you bounce back from setbacks.
Absolutely. And just your basic ability to navigate life without being constantly dragged down by that inner critic.
The source seems to suggest that the foundation, the starting point, is simply awareness. Just taking a moment sometimes.
Yeah, maybe at the end of the day, looking back, noticing the kinds of words you use towards yourself, how you interpreted things.
That act of just noticing, that's the first step in protecting your self-esteem.
That's what the source argues. Awareness first.
So, to sum up, we've explored how self-esteem, viewed through this lens, isn't about achievements so much as it is about that internal relationship.
Right. Built piece by piece through these consistent small acts of self-care, acknowledgement, and talking to yourself with a bit more kindness, like strengthening a muscle.
And the article leaves us with a pretty potent final thought to chew on.
It suggests that deciding today to care for yourself just a little bit more, that simple decision can actually be the power that changes tomorrow.
That's quite provocative. So maybe the question for you listening is, reflecting on these habits, what's one small step, maybe even a tiny one, you could take today?
Yeah, just one thing to show yourself that little bit more care.